Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So, not long ago, sometime towards the end of last year, Specna Arms announced that they were going to do a range of AKs. So AK-47s or 74s to be more precise. And then around SHOT Show time earlier this year, they said they were going to release them at the IWA show in Germany. Well, unfortunately, that's been cancelled or at least postponed due to the epidemic or the pandemic that's going around at the moment. And everybody's on lockdown. However, that didn't stop Specna Arms from releasing their new range of AKs, which they did about a week ago, I think it was. So I got my order in and it arrived today. So if you're new to Airsoft, it won't take you long to hear the name Specna Arms flying around, and they've become synonymous really with providing good quality, fairly low priced AGs of the M4 variety generally. They also do a range of G36s, so the Heckler & Koch, but most of their line, if you like, is based on the M4 AR-15. And to be fair, they make good quality guns. I've actually got two myself. One has been heavily upgraded, which is one of their 1 series, which is based on the HK-416. If you haven't seen my channel before, go back, watch those videos to get an idea of what that's about. And then I've also got a, what's it called, EO7 I think it's called, but it's another M4 basically. And I haven't done much to that one, just put a different hot rubber in, and I'm going to do some work on that soon. So if you haven't seen those, go back and see them, but it gives you an idea of what Specna Arms are. Now, this is different because this is their AK. Specna Arms also have produced a number of sniper rifles. Now I haven't actually reviewed those because they basically look like dressed up well L96s or that kind of variety, particularly the SV I think it is that they've done. It's a bolt action sniper rifle. It doesn't look particularly high quality, so I wasn't that interested in reviewing them, if I'm honest, because sniper rifles, you have to do a lot to them out of the box with the majority of the cheaper ones to make them any good. And people will say, no, you don't know, you can use, if you want a good sniper rifle that's going to give you an advantage over a good AEG, then you've got to spend money on it. Simple as that. You can't get them out of the box, cheap sniper rifle, and go out and be the next, you know, Kicking Mustang, Noveridge, whatever you want to be. So you just have to face facts, and that's why I haven't reviewed any of those. But these are a bit different because this is a line of AKs and they're up against some stiff competition. So I'm interested to see what they can do with an AK platform. Remember guys, if you like the channel, give us a thumbs up, subscribe and leave a comment below. And without further ado, we're going to get on with this. Okay guys, so I haven't done anything to this so far. This is fresh off the van, if you like. This is typical sort of Specna Arms box, but they've done a little bit more decoration on this side. It very faintly looks like a crate of some description with a bit of Russian text on there. If we flip it over, I should mention that they don't actually call these AKs, they call them the J series. So it's the this one particularly is the SAJ08 Edge, and this is sort of a brief covering of the range. Now they haven't got all of their range on here because they've got dozens of M4 based guns, but this is sort of representation of the Edge range. So that's the other one I've got. So the SAE07, that's right, that's the other one I've got. Now this, like I say, is this one in particular, but as you can see, there's quite a range of AKs there. So we've got the wooden stocked AKs, we've got AK-74s, that's more of an AK-105, I think. I don't know if somebody thinks differently, I should say. And then we've got a couple of we've got the plastic stock versions, we've got a slightly more tactical rail version, which looks a little bit like the DITAC version of an AK, where it's got the SLR. Yeah, let me have a look. I've got it right here. I've forgotten already. It is the, yeah, SLR rail. There's a longer version of this that looks a bit like that. So that's obviously their version of it. And yeah, I fancied trying this out with a wooden stock. So let's have a look at what is in the box. Okay, so typical sort of packaging from Specna Arms. So pretty much all their guns come in similar kind of boxes to this. Some are plain black, some have got the Edge symbol and everything on there, or the Rock River Arms logo. So always got this sort of dense foam, so they're actually packaged really nicely. So what have we got inside here? We have first got our user manual. We have got the obligatory set of Specna arm stickers, but they have changed them to have AKs on there. We'll get that out of the way. We've got, what else have we got? We've got our quality certificate from Specna Arms showing the FPS when it was tested, but this is downgraded for the UK, so that doesn't actually account for anything. And we've got our manual, and it's actually quite a chunky manual compared to normal. So a typical kind of thing. This looks like a new style of manual they're putting out, and it's specifically for the AK, which is nice. So it's not just a generic manual. Yeah, actually, that's a pretty decent manual. Explain how the hop-up works, how the magazines work, how the enter and convert spring system works, and the stock, and whatever else, and a nice big hole in the back. So, what else have we got? We have got 2 magazines. So these are quite nice. They're nice coloured brown magazines. So they got like the plastic. Everyone calls it Bakelite. I don't actually think it was, but it's a plastic style. The only thing I'm noticing here, they're high caps. That's a shame. Now, the Edge series always comes with 2 magazines, which is really nice, and they're usually mid caps, but looks like they're swapping to high caps. I sort of get why they've done it. You know, I guess if this is your second gun, you're fairly new to airsoft, you're buying yourself a slightly cheaper AK, then the chances are you're not going to have a lot of AK mags knocking around. Most people buy sort of AR platforms for their first gun, so yeah, I sort of get why they're doing it. It means it's at least playable out the box, even if you haven't got any AK mags. We've also got something underneath here. What's this? All right, so that's a catalogue of their range out at the moment. I don't know if it's a new one. I've noticed these aren't even shown on their website at the moment. And finally, we've got the gun itself. So let's get this out. Oh, and we've got a spare spring. So that was the upgrade or downgrade spring, depending on how you get it. There'll be a unjamming rod or cleaning rod in there somewhere, no doubt. Actually, shock horror, there's no unjamming or cleaning rod. Oh, that's very upsetting. Right, let's get this box out of the way and we can have a proper look. So here we go. This is the brand new line of AKs from Specna Arms. Now, as you can see, this is the shorter carbine, however you want to say it, version. It's much more in common with AK-105 than just a AK-74. You can get the longer AK-74 in these. You can get slightly different stocks. You can get the M4 style stock, get the Russian sort of steel folding stock. I think you can get the full stocks as well. You can get the plastic furniture, but I did fancy a basic straightforward 105 style with a wood stock. I think sort of a classic look. So let's go over this thing. So first of all, there's a lot of steel. So the receiver steel, the upper receiver steel, the stock steel, the barrels, the outer barrels steel, and the flash hider is steel. This block here, I suspect is aluminium. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll have a look in a minute. So we've got a few bits and pieces on here that I'm sort of intrigued with that I want to have a look at. So we've got a wooden stock. The actual quality of the stock is really nice. It's a little bit shiny, a little bit smooth, should I say, not shiny. But, you know, it's a nice finish. It's been done well. It's been finished off well. I like the shape and it feels nice. The only thing that is a bit odd, that wobbles around severely. And also the switch here is a little bit on the loose side. So we're going to have a look at that, see what's going on there. It is wobbling around a bit. Also noticed, you see that's loose. The charging handle is quite loose. If we pull it back, it does operate, but it wobbles around quite a lot. And we've got our fire select, which again, it's a little bit spongy at the top here. It doesn't quite fit in. Okay, we don't want to be negative about it all. Let's keep going. We've got our top cover, our receiver top cover, which you can pop off there. And here is your battery connection. Now, interested with this gun, this is, oh, hello, what's that? Okay, we've got a random small bar. Okay, not sure what that's about, where that goes. We'll get back to that shortly. And as well as this, we have our folding stock, which folds around to the side and clips in place. That's actually really nice, holds in place nice and secure. To release it, there's a little catch there, just pull it back, release it, snaps in place. And it's actually pretty sturdy when it's in place, which is nice. Real agricultural feel to it. You'll hear the sling mount rattling around there. So this is the Orion Gearbox, but it's not the Orion Gearbox that we all know so far from the earlier M4s, obviously, because the M4 Gearbox is a version 2 and AK is a version 3. So this is the first Orion version 3 gearbox that I've seen. I think it may be the first one that's ever been made. I don't think they did one before this, and if they did, I wasn't aware of it. So it'd be interesting to get this out and see. Now, there's been lots of mixed feelings about the original Orion version 2 gearbox. I didn't have any problems with it personally, but I have heard of other people having problems with it and complaining about it. So it'd be interesting to see what this is like. So far, pretty solid feeling. I don't like the wobbly piece of wood over the gas tube. That feels a bit loose. And the actual fire selector, it's a little bit spongy. It actually feels better once the top receiver's off. I think it might be fouling a wire somewhere because it feels a little bit odd, and just this seems to be moving around a bit too much for me. But other than that, there's small details that we can cope with. And we have our hop up there, typical version 3 AK style hop up unit with a slider on it. It is actually a metal hop up unit, I think. So it looks, yeah, it is a metal hop up unit, so that's a nice little touch. And we'll put the slide back on, your battery fits in there. There isn't a lot of room to fit a battery down the actual gas tube, and the reason for that, there's this block on top of the hop unit here. Ah, no, there you go, pushed it back down, so that was actually out of place. So now that's back down, that actually works. Yeah, that fits in nicely. I'm not sure what it's doing. It seems to be pushing on the front of the hop unit, whether that holds it in place. We'll find out later when we take it apart. So there is actually space for a battery to go down the gas tube and then extend back, so like Titan stick battery, that kind of thing can go in there. And then this fits back on, just push it down and it should lock in place like any other AK. That it does. Oh, okay, so the button doesn't come all the way out, so that's worth thinking about. So yeah, so far so good. As I say, that's the fire selector. I do think that's been fouled by a wire somewhere because it does feel a little bit spongy in the top of its travel. Maybe we can tighten that up a bit. If we unscrew this, see what's underneath. Yeah, so this is the actual bolt for tightening it down. Okay. Okay, we'll have a look at that. So far so good though. It feels pretty good. It feels nice actually in the arm. It feels nice to hold. Typical sort of AK feeling about it, very agricultural. I don't like that wobbling at the top here. But the rest of it, I love the fact that it's such a rough steel, because the real AKs are the same. I actually owned an AK-47 many years ago. A real steel one that had been deactivated straight out of the box. It was brand new and it actually looked very similar to this. It had that real rough metal complexion. It was sort of pock marked, it didn't look brand new. So yeah, I do like the fact this is the same, it has that same kind of look. You can see a bright blue plastic cover that sort of covers the gear mechanism inside the gearbox and the trigger mechanism, but you know, no problem. Another thing I've noticed on here, I've actually got a block inserted around the hop unit, which is interesting. So if I get my other AK and take the mag out, you'll see that that's actually open. Now that's not an issue, but sometimes when you're getting the mags in, you can put them in wrong, so it won't go in. Whereas you have to find that lip just right on the edge to actually load it properly. And as you can see, it can be a faff and then you get it in. This plate that they've put on the inside of the mag well helps guide the magazines in, and that's a nice little touch. So what we'll do, we'll put a magazine in and see exactly how they fit. and they don't. So that's not a great start. Let's try the other mag. Okay, so the magazines aren't fitting. And something else has fallen out. So we've got another rod that's just fallen out. This isn't going terribly well so far. Bits are falling off it, mysteriously, and the magazines don't fit. So far, Specna, yeah, not fail safe. Right, so we know where these pins have come from now. They've come out the magazines. So that is not a good start. So let's get these back in and see if this makes a difference, because that is a bit of a problem if the actual pins are falling out of the magazines, because it means the magazines aren't good for anything. It's bad enough that a high cap, the fact they're falling apart makes me really sad. So pins back in the magazines, they'll have to be glued in. Will they now fit? That's the question. They don't fit and the rod falls out again. These magazines are not very good, I think it's fair to say. Let's try another AK magazine. So I've got a Cyma one over here. Let's see if this fits. So is it the gun? There you go. Perfect fit. Actual nice tight fit, no wobbles, no problems at all. So that is a good fitting magazine. These are not. These are poor magazines from what I've seen so far. Specna, you can do better than this. You know, that's not good. Not for a, you at least want one of your mags to work, let alone if you get two, you want them both to work. But if you've got no working mags, then you've got no working gun. So bear that mind. These are Cyma mags that cost £6, so they're dirt cheap and they work really well. It's sad that I need to put that in. So let's try it once more. Make sure it's not me going mad. That's fallen out again. The mags are no good. Simple as that. Don't use them. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Okay, so let's stick a battery on here. This is my standard 7.4 that I use for testing new guns. It's not the one I use when I'm out and about on the field, but it gives us an idea how it sounds, so how the gearbox cycles. So obviously it's fairly low powered battery. Obviously if you put 11.1 in here it'd be a bit different, but might help if I turned it to semi. Okay, pretty sharp fire, actually quite loud, but quite a long trigger travel, but then that's because I've been used to using trigger units which are very short travel. So yeah, it's quite a long travel, but quite capable. And rate of fire, full auto. Yeah, pretty standard rate of fire, so nothing unusual, but nothing too slow. It's not too lackluster. It's a little bit quicker than the Cyma MP5 I did the other day. One thing to look out for is it feels to me like, yeah, you got to just watching the gearbox, not going through full cycle, but other than that it seems absolutely fine. One oddity with this gun I have noticed is the cap's not coming all the way back when the top cover's on. Other than that, it actually sounds quite good. It's got so solid. It's got a bit of a ting going on, a bit of a jing noise, but yeah, no problem there. So yeah, all in all, so far so good. So as well as our all steel body, we have a polymer grip, which is perfectly normal for an AK, same as a real steel. This actual stock, so we've got basically a steel plate folded stock. Seems nicely finished. It's quite sharp, but that's pretty realistic to the real steel. Pretty solid stock. We've got the sling mount. It's a little bit loose. I'm not sure how much stick that would take before it maybe started to give in or wear down. I'm not sure, but pretty standard AK style trigger unit. It's like a cantilever style trigger unit in there, or sorry, trigger mechanism should I say. And then we've got our folded stock here. We've got a button at the back, pretty agricultural like I say, and it folds around nicely there. So all pretty good. The only thing I'll say about the stock is it surprised me which way it folded. I actually expected it to fold the other way. You can still obviously fire with it there, and you've still got your fire control there. But if you have a scope on the scope mount, you're going to struggle with this because you can't fold the stock, simply because your scope mount's going to get in the way. So this is your scope mount here. You slide it on like a PSO1 style scope that I've got over there on my SVU, or you can get a rail that will fit on, so you can fit a red dot or a hollow style sight on there. On top of that, you've got your backup iron sights. Again, these are made of aluminium, I think, looking at them. Pretty loose fitting, not the greatest quality, but it probably doesn't matter that much, if I'm honest. It's more for looks they are, and authenticity, more than they are for real aiming through the sight picture, because I'm pretty sure this thing is not going to be, the sights are pretty rudimentary in reality. I mean, they move around quite a lot. You're not going to get a great sight picture, as one knows, but I'm sure it's going to suffice for airsoft. It shouldn't cause a big problem. Then we've got our fake gas block. We've got our fake cleaning tube at the front, cleaning rod at the front here. That's all steel. And then we've got our nice big fat steel flash hider, which is held in by a pin at the front. I'm guessing we can just screw this off, or screw it on as it were. Okay, so I can tell you that is actually a counterclockwise thread for the flash hider, but it's not keen on coming off. It feels like it's grinding. I don't want to force it in case I damage something, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it on for now. It has advertised as having a 603 type ball barrel in it, and the Orion Gearbox is supposedly pre-upgraded. One thing to mention with this, the rest of the edge range has a MOSFET. It has the XASR MOSFET in it. This does not have a MOSFET in it, so this is a little bit of a backward step from the rest of the edge range in the fact that it doesn't have any kind of electronic control to allow you to put those big 11.1s in. So if you do, then you will eventually burn out your trigger contacts. So it's worth mentioning that now rather than further down the line. So what we'll do is we'll have a look and see exactly what is inside this thing, and have a bit of a more in-depth look into these parts, see why this is wobbling, see why that's moving, and try and get an idea of what's going on with this gun, and what the quality really is like, and whether it can be good out of the box. Okay guys, so first things first, that is dry. There's the tiniest bit of grease there, the rest is bone dry. So let's get a closer look at the gears. They're pretty lightweight gears. They're not amazing quality, but they do the job. Unless you're going to be putting them under some serious stress, they should perform perfectly well. Again, completely bone dry, not a bit of lube on them. And out the way. Next gear, totally bone dry. Nothing. Not even the shims are holding on. Nice little delayer chip though, so like SHS style delayer chip there. Yep, not a tap on it. On top of that, shims over here. Put those back in because we don't know whether shimming is any good or not yet. So we'll put them all back together. So those are all bone dry. So next is the air seal. Okay, the air seal is good. Yep, no problem with that. This isn't ported, so we haven't got the problem that we had with our other Specna arms with the E07 that had a ported cylinder, and it was cutting chunks out of the O-rings on here, but there's none of that on this one because it is a completely unported cylinder. Very, very lightweight, so it's a very lightweight aluminium, anodized and coated, but that shouldn't be an issue because technically with the double O-ring piston head, this small O-ring at the front should help guide the piston a little more to stop it from actually gouging the inside. So actually a pretty good air seal on there, so I'm not too worried about that. The only thing is, it is a plastic piston, nozzle, so it doesn't have an O-ring on there, so the air seal on that won't be great, if I'm completely honest. No, the air seal on that is atrocious, and the further out it gets, the worse it'll get. So put my piece of plastic on there. So to simulate it in the forward position, put that on there like so. And that's why you want O-ring nozzles, because that's pretty rubbish, to be honest. As far as an air seal is concerned, that is pretty poor. So yeah, not great, but there you go. One thing I do like about the piston is it's got the tooth removed here, so it has got a better contact as it comes round, unlike the Cyma MP5 I did the other day, which had a full rack. This has got the one missing off the end there. These are, I'd say these are aluminium teeth. They don't feel steel to me. Let me just check that. Oh, beg your pardon. No, they are steel teeth. And then we've got our standard AK style trigger unit. There's nothing really to be said about that. It's a trigger unit, you know, they're pretty much the same all the way across AKs. They don't really change. All the version 3s anyway. So the actual gearbox itself, right, so this is an Orion gearbox, but obviously this is a version 3, not a version 2, so it is different from the original Specna Arms Edge. This gearbox feels a lot stronger than the original Specna Arms Edge gearboxes. So the version 2 you should get, this is much beefier, much heavier. It's along the lines of a Cyma. I would say it was probably, you know, gearboxes are all very similar once you get into your version 1.2s, version 2s, 3s and 7s and things like that. They're all very similar. But this one, it's feels pretty sturdy. There's nothing wrong with it. It's nicely finished off. 7mm bearings on there, sealed bearings. So yeah, not too bad. That's perfectly acceptable, perfectly workable. And the finish inside the gearbox isn't bad. I'm not sure about the painting of gearboxes these days. I'm never quite sure about that, but you know, people do it. Manufacturers do it. Yeah, it feels perfectly acceptable gearbox. Nothing wrong with it. Should do the job. So the motor. It's not the strongest magnets on the motor, if I'm honest. Actually, not strong at all. But again, does it really matter for this at this point? No, because you put a stronger motor in, the best results you get out of it is to have a heavier battery, and then you're looking at MOSFET. So as a standard motor, again, it doesn't do anything wrong. It works perfectly well enough. So what we'll do is take the trigger unit out, and we'll look at having a look at the shimming, see if it's any good. Okay, so the shimming is actually really good. I'm not going to do anything with it. It's absolutely perfect. Okay, so this is 0.2 gram BBs. .358, 359, 360, 344, 357, 352, 361, 356, 357, 354, 358. And the rate of fire 767 rounds per minute. Okay guys, so first impressions of the Specna Arms AK series. Here we are with the 105. We've had a shot with it. We've taken it apart, had a look inside the gearbox, and we've had a look at the general makeup of the gun and the external qualities, things like that, and that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit more now. And bearing in mind this is their first attempt at an AK platform, but with Specna Arms I had high hopes for this range because they've given it their edge emblem, their edge range, which has always been reserved for the slightly higher end of their guns, and they were, you know, doing really well with their M4s and doing sort of addressing problems and issues and trying to make it a good product, which, you know, you have to admire them for. And they've got a good following. They've got a big following because of that. So first things first, let's get the one thing out of the way. These magazines that come with the gun, they are rubbish. They don't fit properly. I've tried and tried to make them work. The pins keep falling out the back, which hold the top one. One's just fallen off the table again as it's fallen out of there. And you'll have to glue them in, but there's no point because they don't work. You put them in, you can try, you can push them, you can pull them, you can try and get them in. They do not fit. And then while I was trying to get the one in, the plate fell off the end. So that's not going to stay there. That literally just drops off. If I slide that back on there, all the way around, I slide this back on. Come on. There you go. So that's back on now. Literally takes nothing and it's still not held in. So honestly, those mags are rubbish. They are junk. They are not worth the plastic they are made of. They need to be melted down and made into something else because they're just useless. Just don't buy them. If you order a Specna Arms AK, order some Cyma mags to go with it, because a good old £6 Cyma mag, not very expensive at all. You drop it in, locks in, perfect, no problem at all, and feeds as well. And this is the magazine that I've been doing all the testing with. On top of that, you can also use some of the other Cyma mags. I have another one here. More tactical sort of mag, almost like a P-mag style magazine, but still a Cyma magazine. Doesn't really go with the look of this gun, but fits in fine, no problem at all. I tested that earlier and that also feeds, so no issues at all. Actually looks quite cool in there. So yeah, that's a real disappointment that the mags are so bad. I don't know who made them, where they got them from, but they need to go and have a chat with their supplier and ask them to take them back, because literally they are rubbish. They are not worth anything. So that one they've dropped the ball on. So let's talk about externals. You've got a nice scope mount on the back here to put your optics on, as we spoke about earlier. The magazine well fits nicely, no wobbles, no wobbling around, and the steel furniture's nice, solid, and the stock's lovely. However, the actual top receiver doesn't fit in very well, and the button on the back here doesn't come out fully. So it doesn't actually reach the outside of the receiver properly. Now that doesn't sound like a big deal, and at first I thought nothing of it. However, when you've got a battery in there and you're firing, or you sling your gun, or whatever you do, this will pop off. There you go, it comes off the top. I have tried to get that to fit in, but it's going to have to be modified to make it fit. That is a very basic thing that you should not have to do on a brand new AK, is modify it to make the top cover fit with the catch. That is really poor, and that's not great quality control. Let's get that back in, just prove that it's not me being stupid. So that is now back in position. The top cover is down as far as it will go. The catch is there. I can try and manipulate it back in, but it won't go back in. That is in its position, and the top cover will come back on. Not great. So I'm not impressed with that. This thing wobbling around here, it's supposed to hold this gas tube in the front, and the top part of the actual foregrip that's covering where the gas tube is. It's wobbling around way too much. It's really loose, and this piece on the top here, although it's wood, is so loose it's ridiculous. It's wobbling around all over the place. I haven't found a way of getting that off to actually do something about it without having to sort of break apart the body as well. That's not good. The charging handle is very wobbly. It moves around all over the place. It feels quite weak. Feels like it might break if you drop it. The rest of the steel body and the stock and the actual foregrip feels really nice. The wooden foregrip's lovely. You can't knock that. The outer barrels and the flash hider, all good. So no problem at all. It has a slightly worn look. It has some really cool features about it. You can flip that stock around and it holds in place with a little catch there. If you want to get it back out, you just release it. Let it swing back and it locks into place. So there are some nice things about this gun. But Specna have got one big problem. And that problem are the likes of Cyma. Now we all know that LCT make amazing AKs, and personally I think the nicest, certainly externally, are E&L. They produce probably my favourite AKs of all. And the problems Specna Arms have got, not really with LCT and E&L, because they are in a higher price range. The problem they've got is Cyma. Cyma make solid AKs. That's their bread and butter, if you like. And they're cheap. Now the internals probably aren't quite as good as this. This has got a better piston head, and the gears are about probably equal to a Cyma, I'd say, and a better cylinder head as well. The cylinder itself I'm not particularly a fan of because it's a very light aluminium. I can see it wearing over time, so it's no great deal about that. The gearbox shell is no stronger than a Cyma. The gears are no stronger. The motor's no stronger, possibly not as strong. And that's their real problem, is they're up against somebody who knows how to make a good AK. And they know how to make a solid AK. Now, if you look at something like this, now people will say, oh, well, that's a more expensive AK. Yeah, this was, but it's a more expensive AK because it's produced, or it's marketed by Dytac, but it is still made by Cyma. The top cover fits perfectly. Still steel. The selector lever's nicer. The charging handle doesn't wobble around all over the place, and it's solid. The grip's solid, no wobbles. This is a very, very solid AK. I didn't give this, I gave it a decent review, but I didn't give it a top review because the internals weren't as good as I'd liked. On this, the internals are okay, the externals aren't as good as I'd liked. And the problem you've got here is the internals are easy to fix and to change. The externals are not so easy to fix and change. And this is the problem that Specna Arms are going to have. Many AK buyers buy them as a second gun for an Op4 loadout. It's not often you see people going to an AK before they do all the NATO gear, unless of course you're in somewhere that uses these as their primary weapon. But yeah, it's for me, I was looking forward to this, and it's a disappointment. I actually, with the standard of quality of this gun, with the problem with the magazines, the problem with trying to get this top cover to fit, which I still can't get to go on properly. We can whack it, we can tap it, but the only way that's going to fit properly is if we file the base off here, which you should not have to do on a new gun, because it will pop straight back off again. And that is a real disappointment, because it shouldn't be like that. They can do better than this, I think. And it feels unfinished, it feels rushed. It doesn't feel like a really polished finished product. Now these aren't expensive. They're about, I think they retail for roughly around £160. They're currently on sale for about £147. It's not the point. The Cyma AKs are dirt cheap. They are so cheap, and they're still good enough because you can change the internals. It's harder to fix the externals. Certainly on AKs, M4's not so bad, but on AKs it can be a pain. So guys, think very carefully whether you want one of these. I'm sure more reviews are going to be coming out of these very soon. I am one of the early ones. I got them pretty much as they came out. but I'm concerned about the quality of these and certainly the accessories such as the mags. I am going to see what I can do with this to make it right, put it right and make it a good usable gun, because I don't like having wall hangers that don't do anything. Each gun I have, I like for them to have a role at least. And I am going to try and fix this, but it's a brand new Specna arms. I shouldn't have to fix it. So all in all, do I recommend this gun? No, I don't at the moment. I think it's not good enough. Simple as that. There's better choices out there for similar money. Do I think it's got a future? If they put the problems right, yeah, I think it has. But what I will say is Specna arms need to be careful, because they may have dropped a ball if they don't sort out these problems. If they all come out like this, maybe I've got a bad one, you never know. But if they all come out like this, it's going to damage their reputation. And it only takes one gun to do that. You're only ever as good as your last You're only ever as good as your last gun, really. So be very careful, Specna arms. Try and put the problems right. Please get rid of those magazines. Honestly, I can't tell you how bad they are. They are awful. And you need to have a strong word with whoever supplied you those. Putting 2 in is irrelevant when neither of them work. You might as well just put one decent one in. So guys, that is the first AK from Specna arms. If I can fix it and get it feeling a bit better, sort out some of these niggly external problems, then maybe we've got a future and we can see exactly what we can do with it and whether we can make it work for us and whether it's going to be a good up for option. I really sincerely hope I do get this sorted and get it to the way I want it, because I think it will be fun and it will be a good gun to do, because there's no reason why this can't be great if those problems are solved. Cymas, they're fantastic. Specna arms, you've got a little bit of catching up to do, but I'm sure you'll get there and it'll be a good day when you do it. So keep at it. I feel like this one was a huge disappointment for how long I was waiting for an AK to come for Specna arms, but let's keep a lookout for the next one. As usual guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate your feedback and your support on the channel. I couldn't do it if you guys didn't want to see it, so it's great that you all support me, and I get such great comments. I really appreciate that. So remember, if you like the content, give us a thumbs up, remember to subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.